You know what I've been thinking about recently? And I know this is probably gonna sound a little bit crazy, but hear me out, boys. I've been thinking that World of Warcraft is by far, without question, the absolutely most insane and crazy story in gaming history. Now, don't get it twisted, okay? I'm not talking about the best game in history or anything like that. I am purely talking about the absolutely most insane balls to the wall story of a game that has ever existed. And I'm not talking about lore. Let me explain what I mean by what I'm currently thinking. Okay, that was a stupid sentence, wasn't it? But whatever, you get the point. Think about the history of World of Warcraft for what Blizzard has done in the past 10 years. They made Diablo 3, which was a complete bust. They made Diablo 4, which is still a complete shit show and has literally no chance of recovery. They made Overwatch, which was the peak esport of all time, and then Blizzard completely threw all of that in the trash because Blizzard has not balanced a single game properly in the last 30 years, and now StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 do not count at this point. There's other things that balance the game except Blizzard's stupidity. And after that, they made Overwatch 2, which is a shit show. Blizzard has been effectively completely destroying themselves for the last 10 years, including World of Warcraft. I mean, the current world state of World of Warcraft is obviously an absolute joke. You have probably seen the videos, you have seen the memes. Cat God in a magical wheelchair, women with glasses in a world where rejuvenation and healing magic exists, crippled black half-elf women that teach men how to be men. It's a complete shit show bonanza. Everyone knows that, right? But what makes this special is the fact that I have been saying this for like 2 years at this point. World of Warcraft is going to at some point die, and it's obviously going to be killed by Blizzard, not something else. Happened with Overwatch, happened with what's the Hearthstone? Hearthstone happened with Hearthstone, happened with StarCraft. It happens with literally everything Blizzard touches sooner or later. But it hasn't happened with Warcraft, even though the game is the game's a complete joke. Nothing else really just comes close to it somehow. Nothing can overcome Blizzard and the Titan that World of Warcraft is somehow. Even though the game is just firmly trying to kill itself every single day. Every day it's just taking something sharp and plunging it in itself and seeing what's happening. Okay? There have been no good news about World of Warcraft for the past 5+ years, I think, at this point. There were people who were saying Dragonflight is good, and I actually believed that for a moment. Then I found out that that's a fucking lie. Dragonflight is awful. Because after Shadowlands, no one cared about World of Warcraft. Literally, it's a death by apathy type of situation, but it's too slow. We need to accelerate this shit, okay? Because I tried to play the Dragon Age, Dragonflight, excuse me. I tried to play the Dragonflight expansion recently, and I got there to the campaign, and it was like, your first mission objective is to establish a base camp of everyone being cool, friends with everyone, sweep the floors, talk to the furries, talk to the emo kids, and make everyone have a good day. Then talk to the one-dimensional dragons who are now complete fucking pussies and care about flower gardening and shit. It was a disaster, okay? And I didn't first recognize it, but yeah, this is what happens when a game just completely dies off, and only people who are going to be fans of it, no matter what happened. And then good words are being spread around because no one cares even to hate on the game anymore. And that turns out happened in Dragonflight. And I mean, it's still happening. The VOD within is, well, again, you know what the VOD within is. It's literally completely gay. Okay, the next character with the VOD Midnight, whatever the expansion is called, is probably gonna have like a trans character at 5 at this point. Okay, we're literally going there. We already have double, triple, crippled people representation, so you know it's gonna be bad. And I mean, it's not getting better. And the experience for people who want to play this game is atrocious. The only win that has that Blizzard has had in the last, I don't know, decade for World of Warcraft is actually pretty much just Classic. First, the original Classic. TBC was a flop. Lich King was good. And then Season of Discovery, which was very well received until Sunken Temple. Sunken Temple was where everything went to shit. Okay, Gnomering was already kind of like, the bosses are at least somewhat interesting, I guess, but it's kind of shitty because the trash. And Sunken Temple, honestly, I don't think anything was too hard in Sunken Temple, obviously. But man, fucking man, was the trash annoying. And that's where I figured it out. Blizzard actually, you know what they did? Blizzard knows that the cooldowns of certain abilities should probably be just made 1 minute or 2 minutes. Fuck it, just make all the big cooldowns like 1 minute or 2. But no, at that time in Sunken Temple, and previously, but I only noticed this at Sunken Temple, Blizzard made so much trash because they wanted roughly 5-ish minutes to pass between every boss. So everyone gets their stupid 5-minute cooldowns again for every class. Oh my god. And I'm saying this because I feel that this perfectly encompasses how absolutely terrible Blizzard is as a gaming company, how bad they are at making decisions and making good games, okay? Instead of just saying, fuck it, let's lower all the big cooldowns in the game to 1 and 2 minutes, we're gonna add 5-minute trash that every single person unanimously hates, has hated for years, has never said it's good, just so people get their cooldowns back. You can't make this shit up. It is insanity.
This is Milk Genius. He's a Tauren mage, and he was born to suffer. Except things did not.
Hearing Tauren mage just kills me inside, by the way, okay? We should gatekeep every class to very specific races, okay? And that's it.
Quite go to plan. You see, his suffering actually started much earlier than we intended. So let me explain this whole thing. Milk Genius is the first character on a fresh account. Matt and our team is going to use him for some upcoming challenge runs of the game. But, well, challenge actually found him first. That's because just getting to level 80 was an absolute nightmare. Let me tell you, we were shocked to find out how bad WoW really is for new players. It is literally unplayable in ways that we did not expect, and I am...
By the way, I leveled from 1 to 85, 90, whatever it was, before Shadowlands hit, and then I played a little bit of Shadowlands. Some of you know what story I'm gonna say, but some of you don't, and this story is just insane how bad the leveling experience in World of Warcraft is.
Not joking. Whenever people send me things, first impressions count. Had a normal time at first. Pleasant even. Lots of people told him to do things.
Yeah, this is the place. This is the start of Dragon Isles. You literally get 50 quests in the starting place, and half of the quest is like, oh, find a book I misplaced. While everything's burning around you. This is so bad.
Like incinerate living creatures around the Dragon Isles, and he did so with a smile. His barrier was impenetrable. He blew up enemies in a few casts at most. Then something changed.
The few casts thing, by the way, is super bad. I leveled a rogue, and then I just said, fuck. Okay, listen. I wanted to play Cataclysm Classic because I never played Cat. I made a rogue, and I started leveling, and very quickly, I wanted to delete my Minecraft character in the most painful way possible, because leveling was so bad, okay? It is unbelievably boring going into stealth, and then one-shotting instantaneously the enemy, and doing that until max level. And I didn't have any of the gear or anything. After that, my guild leader told me, you fucking idiot, you're on the wrong server, go play on this one. And I'm like, oh great, I'm not leveling this shit again. Level boost. There we go, level boost. You can say what you will about level boost, but the reality is, shut the fuck up. No, like 80% of people would quit the shitty game if there wasn't the ability to level boost because leveling is just so ass. Okay, it's just so bad. Okay, no one's sticking around to level this game. Okay, especially in retail. Leveling is just bad. It is so boring, just one-shotting creatures.
As he leveled and mastered new spells, he actually got weaker. Pyroblast felt like tepid air blast. He might have done more damage blowing kisses than throwing.
This is just scaling being bad. I did this. I actually know where he is. I did this and then I quit after that playing through the Dragonflight shit. Literally like 2 hours in or something. I was the gear update thing, which you get for free to update your character so he can do things. You kind of one-shot. Well, you don't one-shot things here. You actually get to press buttons and it doesn't feel bad. This was actually pretty good. Combat actually here was okay at least. It felt good pressing buttons, but everything else felt bad.
Fireballs, it felt ridiculous. And then enemies chunked him with every swing. And before poor Milk Genius knew what was happening, he found himself needing everything in his arsenal to survive. Burst.
Yeah, that's kind of good. I actually like that. I like when you need to press your buttons. I don't like a 10 button rotation, but I do like, a 4-button rotation with, like 5 buttons that you can press depending on the situation. I do like that.
Time warp, ice block, all just to take on the local wildlife. The same wildlife, the very same wildlife that he had just been exploding with a simple glance just a few hours before. Now, of course, as an experienced...
Yeah, that's just scaling being bad. By the way, this has nothing to do with gear. I'm gonna tell you the story. Some of you know the story. When I wanted to get to Shadowlands and I leveled before Shadowlands dropped, I had to level 1 to 80 or something like that in the retail. And, well, this is my story. I picked a Undead Rogue. Undead Rogue, very smart. Whatever. And I just played. I think I played like a normal person. I did dungeons, I did this, I did that. And let me tell you how it went. At the first, I had my basic 1 to 2 damage daggers or whatever is the basic one. Then I did then I found an upgraded dagger for like 2 to 4 damage or something like that the next tier, okay? And then at one point, there was no dagger upgrade. Then I found one quest that actually gave me a dagger upgrade to like 5 or 6 damage or DPS or whatever the fuck it's called. And the other was like pants, and I had gray pants, so I chose the pants. I was thinking I'm gonna get a dagger upgrade, right? How long is it? I'm currently fucking plowing through shit. It's very good. So how bad can it be, right? Do you want to guess when I got finally a weapon upgrade? When I stopped using the 4 to 5, 4 to 6, whatever damage dagger? Do you want to guess? I'll tell you. I'll fucking tell you. I did Shadowfang Keep multiple times. There's a really good dagger drop there. Never dropped. Veiling Caverns multiple times. The Thunder Lizard never dropped. And many other things. I think I leveled like a normal person. I think I did dungeons like a normal person. I did a lot of bunch of storylines through zones that I did not read and still didn't get a upgrade. You know where I got my upgrade? I got my first dagger upgrade from Natano's Blightcaller killing event. That's right. That means I was max level. My gear, I did multiple fucking dungeons, in fact, and I was still using a 2 to 4 damage dagger. Because I never got fucking one. And you know what's the funniest part about that? My damage was still good. But then I got the dagger, and I was thinking like, holy shit, boys, I'm gonna pump so hard now because I got the dagger upgrade. And, from an average of 2 to 4 damage dagger, now I have something like, I don't remember how much was it, like 200, 300, purple, good eye level, blah, 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 dagger catch-ups, right? You know how much my damage increased? It didn't go up 10 times, it didn't go up 5 times, it didn't even go fucking up 2 times. My damage increased by roughly like 20% or some shit. A dagger that has literally 15,000% more damage. Wait, is that actually 50,000% more damage? Yeah, it is. 15,000% more damage! And I deal 20% more damage on average. It's insane. The balancing in this game is just non-existential. If you somehow get in a bad position because of the scaling, you're fucked.
As a WoW player, you're probably familiar with slowing down as you level, but I promise you, you have not seen anything this bad. We have not seen anything this bad because we just hadn't done this in a while. And by now, it really is different. And this all made leveling a living nightmare. WoW felt like less of a well-designed video game. Fighting one mob without combustion was pointless. Pulling two at the same time meant certain death. It took every mage spell in the book to kill named NPCs, and usually in a few tries. This was not fun. It was somewhere between a pointless slog and just being insanely frustrating. And this is in the hands of a good player, someone with many years of experience.
Yep, you can tell that's a good player from the stains.
What do you think would happen to a new player? A new player who would die trying to 1v1 a regular mob, say a boar. They would probably quit the game. It's just hard to imagine anyone bothering with this. Even if they survived, getting weaker over time is kind of the opposite of what an RPG should be. There's essentially, in my view, no way they would stick with it. Not unless they had a whole bunch of friends boosting them and getting them towards the endgame. And the sad news for Milk Genius is it actually got worse before it got better. Hours of struggling later, he finally reached Orgrimmar. He'd done the non-combat quests where he could. Now they called him to set the newest continent ablaze. Yes, he was being called to Kaz Algar. Without a well-timed save from a hunter who just happened to be there, he actually would, well, maybe still be dying from that Nerubian lord you've got to fight in Dalaran in the intro. You know, over and over.
How is this balanced? Look at this. 160k versus 700. That should be okay. I mean, your damage should be okay. But how does this make sense?
Over and over again. Because
also, I don't remember what level am I in the Dragon Isles currently, which I will not play with Rogue. But I just got the boost that automatically upgrades your gear for characters that have not logged in forever. And I'm like peachy. I actually enjoy the combat.
It was actually just that bad as a fight. And remember, you need to beat that boss to finish the scenario. And that means that as a new player, there is no way...
What are these 20 damage ticks on a...
...to continue.
Wait, his HP just went up doing nothing.
It was genuinely impossible.
Impossible
alone, and that's because Milk Genius was a victim. He was a victim of scaling and how it's essentially broken for the game as it is being played by new players right now. And the sad thing for Milk Genius is there was just about nothing he could do about it. So, how did we get into this mess? How did this happen? Let's break it all down then. Our actual problem here was gear. On the Isle of Dorne, the quest reward from the impossible intro quest really did prove that, and that's because the same slot went from plus 40 stamina to plus 1295. It's quite a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
But more, it's an extra.
By the way, this is the same thing in Diablo 4. They use the same calculation, it seems, for everything.
25k HP. It's a 16% increase from just one item. That's out of 14 slots.
Wait, what? Bro, that's not a 16% increase. That's like a 1,000,000,000% increase. Considering this is how I think this is how scaling in World of Warcraft goes. If the intended amount of stats that a character is supposed to be on level 80 is, for example, 2k in your primary stat, if you have 80 and you get an item that gives you like 500, that's not gonna be like you getting 20% of your max out, okay? That's gonna be a boost for you for, for millions. And the closer you get to that point for that number that they want you to have, the less beneficial stats become. The closer you get, the less you gain. The farther you are away, the more you get. The bigger increase it actually is. The scaling slows down when you're at the peak. So this is probably not like a. Also, where the hell did he get a 16% increase? This is. This is. This item is roughly. I don't know. It's hard to actually calculate how much this is, but this is easily 20 to 40 times damage increase just by itself, okay? And that damage increase is probably even more increased on scaling. So this is like a 50% damage increase.
It's a 16% increase from just one item. That's out of 14 slots. And this was not just health either. This slot went from 20 int to 441, plus 3% crit and 1% haste. That was all from one single hat. Okay, what actually happened here? Well, Milk Genius had actually out-leveled so fast that he drastically outgrew his gear, and it was nigh on impossible to keep him with a set of gear that actually fit his level. Most of his equipment was so bad that he may as well have been naked, which is a sad state of affairs for poor Milk Genius. And of course, that's on a fresh account, without the warband buff that gives you up to like 25% more XP. And of course, this was a fresh account. That means no heirlooms. Basically, this is the stock experience where there are really no pointers or explainers. And that means that leveling is just too fast for how Blizzard's game actually awards people gear. Why? Well, campaign quests are designed with a specific curve in mind. You get a few pieces in every zone as you would level up. Then you would hit max with a full quest set of gear. Some pieces would be a few item levels lower. That's for a fairly obvious reason. You would maybe get one piece of gear at level 64 instead of at level 69, but that's not really a big deal. Job done, you've hit max level. And that's what happens because Dragonflight, and of course later on War Within, have got their continents designed for a 10 leveling span, not a 60 or 70 leveling span. That's why this breaks. Players drop into Dragonflight at level 10. They then finish the campaign somewhere in the 40s, and that's when they essentially run out of easy gear, which leads to this situation. This poor soul was still wearing gear from his 30s and 40s. He wasn't level 50, he wasn't level 55, no, he was in his 60s. And this is not like WoW Classic. You see, in Classic, wearing a 15 green was fine for like 20 levels. Gear scaling is absolutely nuts now, and that's the key difference between now and Classic.
Yep.
Every slot was hundreds of item levels below where it should have been. Thousands.
And you know what's the funny part? Blizzard can completely avoid this by just making it that the difference between expansion health pools and stats is not like 30 times bigger, but like 10% bigger. That's all they need to do. And they could avoid all of this shit, but they don't.
Of stats behind. And you may say, just go get some gear, bro, that's the problem. Easy. Well, Milk Genius wishes it was easy. Some side quests drop gear. The odd world quests do as well. But even if you understand that system, which again, if you're a new player, you probably won't, there's no reliable way to replace garbage. As an example, when I say...
There actually is a reliable way to replace garbage. This is how I leveled my DK in Kata. The moment you get to the Cataclysm expansion, you just instantaneously say, fuck it, okay. Got it, just found a green item from the new expansion. Oh, it's a pair of caster clawed boots. Equip that shit. That's the best way of you actually dealing with it, because that boost is still going to be so much more.
Garbage, say, imagine that plus 10 strength belt that you picked up at level 25. Now, if you're thinking, just buy bind on equipped gear then, well, we thought about that as well.
Gold?
BOEs below level 80 are unbelievably expensive. Many of you probably know why. It's because the only people buying them are giga-rich transmog hunters who want to fill out their set. And that's an economic context that poor Milk Genius and, of course, every new player to the game won't exactly be in. You see, with today's leveling speeds, you'll only have a few thousand gold by the time you hit this problem. And if you're in the know, you won't really want to spend that. As an example, just think about how expensive enchants and crafting are up at max level. That means that spending any money in gear before level 80 is a huge mistake. But hang on a second. You may be wondering why you don't have that problem, why you are not like the poor victim of today's video, Milk Genius, and the legions, the probably hundreds of thousands of potential new players that are bouncing off World of Warcraft every month. You and Milk Genius ain't the same. You'll have heirlooms. Those heirlooms will scale with level. And even if you don't, you can queue for every single dungeon with Chromie time. Or perhaps you'll only be leveling your characters during Time Walking Week.
Still don't know what Chromie time is.
Where you can just spam dungeons with short queues and get loads of gear. That's not what a new player will be doing. What we're talking about today is a new player problem. Now, you can technically avoid it if you run dungeons. Scaling is a little different there, but hey, you will get some gear. But the DPS queue times for Dragonflight dungeons are prohibitively long, and you're trapped in the Dragon Isles until level 70 anyway. So, if you ask me, asking a new player to AFK in a queue is not much of a solution to this problem. And if you're not convinced that this is a problem, let me put it this way. Blizzard putting WoW on sale like this is basically them trying to fill a bathtub.
Oh.
But what they, well, probably realize but have...
I love how there's always an epic edition that's just effectively pay more, receive nothing.
Not yet acted on is that bathtub, well, you know, doesn't really have a plug in it. So all of those new players they chuck into World of Warcraft simply just drain away. Okay, look, I've got to pull the handbrake and do a crazy power turn, but trust me, I'm actually going somewhere with this. It's relevant. The Final Fantasy XIV director wrote blogs early in the game's life, and he talked about something similar. There was a quest.
The Final Fantasy director said everything was cool until he kind of killed the game again. So, you know, that's kind of out completely irrelevant.
In A Realm Reborn, a few of you may know it. It asked you to get a full set of item level 5+ gear, and right beside that quest giver was an NPC vendor. That vendor sold the last item that you needed, a piece of leg armor, and the game explains all of this stuff to you. But here's what happened. Even with all of that, their stopping point data showed something different. The data showed this was the quest most quitting players stopped at. Just kind of crazy, right? Such a simple barrier, yet it kind of destroyed their player signups. Now they ended up changing this. They changed it to be more clear. When they changed, it actually worked. More people stayed. You see, players don't like being confused. They don't like feeling confused. And in this case, it's new.
And Dragon Isles was super confusing when you get there. You literally get 20 fucking quests in a row. Some of those quests are click on this super small thingy right there that's barely visible, have fun.
New players who have not put hours into an MMO, they're gonna feel confused real easy. MMOs are overwhelming. They won't put up with the sorts of bullshit that you and I will put up with basically all the time. Hey, we're WoW players, we're used to it. But they won't put up with that. Now, I do not have access to Blizzard's stopping point data.
I mean, I just want to say, you can see Cone of Cold is not really even being used, but you're kind of dying, okay? I don't know if this is good playing.
But I can promise you this. They have tons of people who finish the Dragonflight campaign, they hit the wall that Milk Genius hit, and then they get confused. The campaign stops giving them gear. They find that they cannot kill mobs. They also can't find side quests. They get confused. They don't like feeling confused.
Dungeons should technically fix all of that if you queue as DPS. Do they? But, I mean, that sometimes doesn't work. Didn't work for me.
They try to Google things about the game, but Google's a mess. WoW data is just spread across lots of different websites, ones that are useful but often high cognitive load to use. So what happens is they simply quit. I think in doing these sales, Blizzard is pouring time and effort into finding water for the bucket, but they haven't perhaps realized or acted on the fact there's a giant hole in the bottom of that bucket. But I do have some good news. It's not all hopelessness, because our boy Milk Genius...
Okay, easy. This could all be fixed. But it's not like anyone at Blizzard knows what the fuck they are doing. So this is probably never gonna get fixed. Or if it gets fixed, I'll tell. Also, the fact that this Tauren doesn't have lips is really off-putting, not gonna lie. Not the fact that he's naked, but the fact that he doesn't have lips. Anyway. Next expansion, probably this will be broken again. The next mini patch, when the gear scaling goes up like 3 times for no reason, it's probably going to be broken again. So, again, this is what Blizzard does with World of Warcraft, Diablo 4, every single game that they have. They have an issue that has a fundamental problem right there at the beginning of how the thing is even done in the first place, but their solution is some kind of, okay, let's just add an item that kind of fixes it for now, not address the issue that actually creates the problem. That's how World of Warcraft works. This is why Blizzard is shit. Anyway, that was Bellier World of Warcraft 10 out of 10. Bye!